Have you ever thought about what it would be like to invent something that totally changes your field, something that becomes the gold standard for everyone? Now imagine being the person to stand up years later and say, you know what? I was wrong. We need to stop doing it that way. Well, that's exactly what's happening right now in the world of AI, and it's a wild story.
That quote you just saw? That's from a guy named Jeremy Howard, and he's talking about a technique called fine-tuning, which is basically the secret sauce behind things like ChatGPT. He's the one who created the method that pretty much everyone uses, and now he's saying we should throw it out. So to get why this is such a bombshell, we first need to understand who this guy is.
So let's dig in, because understanding Jeremy Howard and the revolutionary process he created is really the only way to grasp why his change of heart is sending such massive shockwaves through the entire AI world.
See, Jeremy Howard, he's always been a bit of a contrarian. You know, the kind of person who zigs when everyone else zags. But the thing that makes him so respected is that he has this incredible track record of actually being right.
For starters, he's the co-founder of Fast.ai, a project whose entire mission is to make deep learning accessible to everybody, not just folks in fancy, well-funded labs. He was the #1 ranked data scientist in the world on Kaggle for 2 years straight. And he's kind of built his whole career on proving you don't need a Google-sized budget to do amazing cutting-edge work in AI. All of this is driven by one core belief.
And this quote just nails it. He has always been a champion for what he calls the GPU poor. You know, the developers, the students, the hobbyists, the rest of us who don't have a data center in our garage. And it was that exact mindset that led him to his biggest breakthrough.
Okay, so let's hop in the time machine and go back to 2018. The world of natural language processing, or NLP, was a totally different beast back then, and Howard was about to drop an idea that would completely change the game.
Back in 2018, getting an AI to understand human language was brutally hard and incredibly expensive. You needed mountains of data and computing power. But Howard noticed what was happening in the world of image recognition. They were using a clever trick called transfer learning. You take a model that's already been trained to recognize 1 million images of cats and dogs and cars, and then you can quickly teach it a new specific task, like identifying different types of flowers, without starting from scratch. So Howard basically asked, hey, why can't we do that for text?
And that question led him to create ULMFiT. It was this elegant 3-step recipe. First, pre-train a model on a gigantic text source, like all of Wikipedia, just to learn the basics of how language works. Then, step 2, you fine-tune it on something more specific, like maybe a ton of medical journals. And finally, step 3, you fine-tune it one last time on a really specific job, like classifying patient reviews as positive or negative. It was simple, powerful, and it made NLP accessible.
So, you'd think everyone would have celebrated this, right? Nope, not even close. The academic community was incredibly skeptical. In Howard's own words, everybody hated fine-tuning. They thought language was just too complex, too messy for this kind of shortcut. They pretty much told him he was wasting his time.
But here's the thing. It worked. And it didn't just work. It worked spectacularly. It smashed the state-of-the-art records and opened up the field to thousands of new people. Today, that exact 3-step process is the bedrock of basically every large language model we use, including ChatGPT. But as his method took over the world, a deep, hidden flaw started to become apparent.
And this brings us right to the heart of Howard's new argument. He now believes his own creation suffers from a fundamental and maybe even dangerous problem.
The problem has this really dramatic name, catastrophic forgetting. And it's exactly what it sounds like. When you take a smart general-purpose model and you fine-tune it too much on one very specific skill, it starts to, well, forget the other stuff it knew. It can become a hyper-specialized genius at one thing and kind of an idiot at everything else. And we have a perfect, real-world example of this, Code Llama. It started out as Llama 2, which was a great all-around model. Then, they fine-tuned it like crazy on programming code. And yeah, it became an amazing coder. But in the process, it got a lot worse at just having a normal conversation or reasoning about general stuff, all the things the original Llama 2 was good at. It forgot.
So why did it forget? Well, during that fine-tuning process, only a tiny fraction of the data it saw, we're talking just 0.3%, was not code. It was basically put on a diet that starved it of its general knowledge, so that knowledge withered away while it became a coding prodigy.
Okay, so Howard isn't just pointing out the flaw, he's proposing a fix. So if fine-tuning is the problem, what's the alternative? His answer is pretty radical.
He says we need to just throw the entire idea of fine-tuning in the garbage. Forget it exists. Instead, he argues, we should only think in terms of one single process: continued pre-training.
So what does that actually mean? Well, instead of these separate, sequential stages, you just keep training the model on a rich, mixed diet of everything you want it to know: general text, instructions, code, you name it, all at the same time. You never starve it of one type of data. The only thing you change is that you gradually increase the quality of the data you're feeding it. The difference is really fundamental. The old fine-tuning method is sequential, and it risks creating these brittle, over-specialized models. Continued pre-training, on the other hand, is a holistic process. It's designed to build robust, multi-talented models that can keep all of their skills sharp.
Now, this might sound like a really technical debate for AI engineers, but Howard argues that this has profound implications for the future of AI and for all of us.
This is about creating AI that learns more like we do, building on existing knowledge without forgetting the basics. It's a path to AI that's more capable, more reliable, and yes, more accessible. Howard even suggests that many of the big alignment problems we worry about, where AI behaves in weird, unpredictable ways, might not be some deep philosophical issue. It might just be that we're using flawed training methods. For Howard, this all comes full circle. This isn't just about a new technique. It's the next logical step in his lifelong mission to get powerful AI tools out of the hands of a few giant companies and empower most people to build incredible things with them.
And that leaves us with a pretty powerful question to think about. The inventor of the dominant way we train AI now says it's fundamentally broken because it causes models to forget. So what does it really mean for our quest to build general intelligence if the very way we teach our machines is built on a foundation of forgetting?